As you watch this, the federal government is moving towards signing off on the creation of the biggest marine parks network in the world. All thinking anglers, myself included, understand and support the need for the conservation and management of our marine resources. But there is growing concern among Australia's 5 million recreational fishers that our government has not taken the time to properly consider how these marine parks will affect the fishing on the recreational community, now and into the future. To be perfectly frank, there's a great deal of evidence to suggest the government has not looked closely enough at the science regarding recreational fishing and the marine environment. Today, we want to outline these scientific facts so you can make up your own mind as to whether the government's plans to lock you and I out of the 1.3 million square kilometres of Australian coastline is fair and justified. Let me introduce to you now the internationally respected marine biologist Julian Pepperell. Julian has spent his long and distinguished career studying and documenting the marine environment, in particular concerning the management of recreational fishing. Julian will address issues of concern in the marine parks debate. I urge you to carefully consider Julian's scientific explanation about marine parks and recreational fishing, and then ask yourself the question, why is our government locking us out of these new parks?
I've been studying recreational fisheries and the species of fish caught by recreational anglers for over 3 decades. I want to talk briefly about excluding recreational fishing from some very large and some not so large marine parks. Now, I strongly believe that marine parks are necessary to protect biodiversity, but I also believe they should never be implemented just to manage recreational fisheries. By closing extremely large areas to recreational fishing, the message to the general public is that recreational fishing must be a highly destructive, rapacious activity. The facts, however, don't support that view. Recreational fishing is readily managed by using a whole raft of regulations, including size and bag limits, seasonal closures, restrictions on number and kinds of fishing gear, and so on. But these facts never seem to be taken into account when arguing for more and more fishing exclusions. In the case of marine parks, simply banning fishing, with little or no scientific justification, is a very blunt instrument indeed. It's quite possible to protect habitat and biodiversity without banning fishing by the use of management tools such as closed seasons, catch and release, and only allowing specific types of fishing, for example, only surface trolling to avoid catching resident reef fish. In an area the size of the Coral Sea, millions of fish die each day from natural causes. In that context, a blanket ban on recreational fishing from such an area would be a drop in the proverbial ocean. I'd like to think that good marine park design would always be underpinned by excellent science. But there is little, if any, evidence of good science in closing a vast area of the Coral Sea to recreational fishing, or for that matter, in excluding anglers from relatively small areas off southwestern Australia. It's hard to see how a small boat trolling a couple of lures could be a threat to the blue whale. In the planning of the National Marine Park Network, there are a lot of proactive opportunities for a win-win for recreational fishing and the environment. For example, catch and release fishing coupled with consume on site is an excellent concept for achieving a balanced outcome in the Coral Sea.
Show Julian's video to a non-fisher person or even someone who supports the current lockout agenda. After they've heard what Julian has to say, ask them if they now consider that the bans on recreational fishing that our government are proposing are justified or necessary. I think after listening to Julian Pepperell that any reasonable person would have to agree the government has got things fairly mixed up. That in fact the science shows there are better ways to protect our marine resources than just locking us Aussie mums, dads and kids out of our waters. No one is suggesting that we shouldn't protect and manage our marine environment. Of course there must be things that happen. No one is suggesting that overfishing, pollution, inappropriate development and other destructive impacts should not be stopped. But why has the government singled out recreational fishing as the big problem when the science clearly indicates that it isn't? I urge you all to consider the rationale and scientifically verified facts as detailed by Dr. Julian Pepperell, to listen to the message of sustainability and responsibility that he delivers and take on board the details of proactive and positive management protocols our government has rejected in favour of heavy-handed lockouts and fishing bans. I urge you not to be swayed by the misinformation coming from an extremist minority opposed to recreational fishing. Check out the website on your screen right now for Q&A info that clearly and concisely dispels the myths about the impacts of recreational fishing on our marine environment. I'm here to help you put the record straight. Anglers are not part of the problem, we're part of the solution.